Ki Jai. Kantaraj srimadbhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this is Canto 4, titled Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 11. No, we're on Chapter 12. Chapter 12, Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead. Text 1. Maitre vacha Dhruvam nivrittam pratibudya vaishasad Apetam anyum bhagavan dineshwaraha Tatragatash charana yaksha kinnare Samstu yamanom yavadat kritanjalim. Maite vacha Dhruvam nivrittam pratibudya vaishasad Apetam anyum bhagavan dineshwaraha Tatragatash charana yaksha kinnarai Samstu yamanon yavadat kritanjalim. Maite vacha Dhruvam nivrittam pratibudya vaishasad Upetam anyum bhagavan dineshwaraha Tatragatash charana yaksha kinnarai Samstu yamanom yavadat kritanjalim. Please chant. Okay, word by word. Maitreya vacha. Maitreya said, Dhruva Maharaj, nivrittam ceased, pratibudya, having learned, vaishasat, from killing, peta, subsided, manyum, anger, Bhagavan Kuvera, Dana Ishvaraha, Master of the Treasury, Tatra, there, Agataha, appeared, Charna, by the Charnas, Yakshas, Kinnaraye, and by the Kinnaras, Samstumyamanaha, being worshipped, Nyanyavadat, spoke, Krita Anjalim, to Dhruva with folded hands. Translation. The great sage Maitreya said, "My dear Vidura, Dhruva Maharaj's anger subsided and he completely ceased killing yakshas. When Kuvera, the most blessed master of the treasury, learned this news, he appeared before Dhruva. While being worshipped by yakshas, kinnaras, and charnas, he spoke to Dhruva Maharaj, who stood before him with folded hands." This is text 2. The master of the treasury, Kuvera, said, "O sinless son of a Kshatriya, I am very glad to know that under the instruction of your grandfather you have given up your enmity, although it is very difficult to avoid. I am very pleased with you. Actually, you have not killed the yakshas, nor have they killed your brother. For the ultimate cause of generation and annihilation is the eternal time feature of the Supreme Lord." Purport. When the master of the treasury addressed him as sinless, Dhruva Maharaj considered himself responsible for killing so many yakshas, might have thought himself otherwise. Kuvera, however, assured him that factually he had not killed any of the yakshas. Therefore, he was not at all sinful. He did his duty as a king as it is ordered by the laws of nature. "Nor should you think that your brother was killed by the yakshas," said Kuvera. "He died or was killed in due course of time by the laws of nature. Eternal time, one of the features of the Lord, is ultimately responsible for annihilation and generation. You are not responsible for such actions." So I'll just read one more. Text 4. This identification of oneself and others as I and you on the basis of the bodily concept of life is a product of ignorance. This bodily concept is the cause of repeated birth and death, and it makes us go on continuously in material existence. Purport. The conception of I and you, aham tvam, as separate from each other is due to our forgetfulness of our eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Person, Krishna, is the central point, and all of us are his parts and parcels, just as hands and legs are parts and parcels of the whole body. When we actually come to this understanding of being eternally related to the Supreme Lord, this distinction, which is based on the bodily concept of life, cannot exist. The same example can be cited herewith. The hand is the hand and the leg is the leg, but when both of them engage in the service of the whole body, there is no such distinction as hands and legs, for all of them belong to the whole body, and all the parts and working together constitute the whole body. Similarly, when the living entities are in Krishna consciousness, there is no distinction as I and you, because everyone is engaged in the service of the Lord. Since the Lord is absolute, the services are also absolute. Even though the hand is working one way and the leg is working in another way. Since the purpose is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are all one. This is not to be confused with the statement by the Mayavadi philosopher that everything is one. Real knowledge is that hand is hand, leg is leg, body is body, and yet altogether they are one. As soon as a living entity thinks that he is independent, his conditional material existence begins. The conception of independent existence is therefore like a dream. One has to be in Krishna consciousness, his original position, then he can be freed from material bondage. Om Ganti Brandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuvanamritamena Tasmai Shri Guruveda Kam Karivachalam Bangam Langate Grim Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitanam Vansha Kavirubhishcha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Prabhupada would, in the Vedic literature, talks about material existence being like a dream. And one thing that makes something a dream, or a dream, is that it's temporary. And I mean, we have the experience. Of at nighttime when we're dreaming, we may dream of so many different things, or we do sometimes. And it may be good, it may be bad, and then we wake up and oh, that was just a dream. Like Bajranarayan Swami said one time, he had a dream that he put on. He was getting married. He had a dream he was getting married. And then he was thinking, where are my friends? Like, why they let me do this? And he said, where's Dravida Prabhu? Where's Tirthamar? Why they let me do this? What's going on? Because he's a sannyasi and everybody's elderly, and why is he going through this? And then so he's having this dream, and then he said he woke up and he was like, and then he looked around. And he's okay, yeah, it was just a dream. Thank God it was just a dream. And he was like scared, So, or you have so many dreams. Tirthamaj told me one time he had a dream that he was like a monkey somehow, and he said he was in the tree and he had the body of a monkey, he was jumping around, and all of a sudden he fell, and like this lion started to eat him, and then he woke up and it's just a dream. I'm not a monkey and there's not a lion there. But interesting enough is that when one is having the dream, they're like really identifying with it, and it's actually affecting them emotionally and psychologically. Could even scar people, right? They would go, "Oh, that was a really bad dream," or anyways. I had a dream last night. Some devotees were fighting. But then it ends, and then it's over. And it's like, okay, fine. Now this is the real life. It's daytime, and now I'm going on with my activities. But interesting enough is Prabhupada would say, oh, there's two dreams. There's the night dream, and then there's the daydream, which now we're experiencing the daydream. And he'd say, and people, they take the daydream to be real because it's longer, right? It's more consistent, it's longer, it's right. We have our lives, and the night dream's kind of all over the place, here, there. So, so the daydream and the night dream, and they're both temporary, because one goes on to the next body, and then they have a whole other set of dreams. And the Bhagavatam says that, so we're like dreaming these bodies, you could say. It's like a dream. I'm going to the next body, dream. So it's actually not real life. So the Bhagavatam says that as long as one is meditating on sense gratification, one cannot get out of the dream. One cannot break free from the night dream and also the daydream. It's in this kind of experience we're having. And the Bhagavatam says, Dhyato Vishayan Pumsa, that Dhyato is meditation, Vishaya on the senses, on sense gratification. So, and meditating on sense gratification means so many different things for different people. I guess depending on one's conditioning, depending on one's habits, depending on one's consciousness, sense gratification means different things for different people. Means certain people are interested in different types of sense gratification. So, but whatever the case is, whatever sense gratification one may be interested in, usually, right, wealth, women, followers, the fruits of mundane piety, liberation from, this is Srila Prabhu's poetic rendition of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Shikshashika, but wealth, women, followers, the fruits of mundane piety, liberation from this world of limitless anxiety. O Lord, these common goals have not the slightest worth. Please let me serve you eternally and in each future birth. So practically it means these things: wealth, women, followers, mundane religiosity, the fruits of and all that. As long as one is meditating on those, attached to those, then one cannot get out of the dream. It's very difficult. And dream also means suffering. It's not that it's just a good dream and everything's great, and it means a lot of suffering too. So the Bhagavatam is recommending that we get out of the dream and this material existence. And of course, one can be out of the dream even though one is in this world. It's not that one has to leave this world to get out of the dream. The Rupa Goswami says that, he says that verse, Jivan Mukta Su Uchite, so one who's engaged in the service of the fully engaged in the service of the Lord, their senses are purified. Ya iha yasa hare dasya karmana manasagita Nicholas, Jivan Mukta Su Uchite. So one who's engaged, purified, you could be liberated in this world, although in this world. So practically they're out of material existence. So that's the idea for us to be engaged in such a way whereas we're not really, just like the Christians say, right? I think it's somewhere in the Bible, or at least some Christian might have thought of it. But I think it's in the Bible. It said, of this world, in this world, but not of this world. So we're in this world, but we're not really of this world. We're beyond. Not of this world, that's what it's called. Not of this world. They actually have a store, a Christian store. They sell a bunch of stuff, stickers and hats and T-shirts. Not of this world, not of this world. So, it's a hard mark to reach a lot of the times. But that's the idea, to become liberated, even though in this world. And when one is engaged in material existence, it's quite intense actually. The motions, everything that's going on, it's quite a serious thing actually. What's going on here? Dhruva Maharaj, one yaksha killed his brother, and he killed so many yakshas. That's a pretty intense thing that happened, event. And there's so many things going on in this world, and that people are engaged in that are quite intense. It's quite an intense dream. Some people are starving. It's an intense dream to be going through. Some people are attached to heroin, and they're just addicted to it, and they're, can't get away from the needle. Putting the needle in their arm. It's quite an intense dream. People are undergoing a lot of suffering too. Violence and abuse and politics. It's quite a intense dream if one gets involved in it. So, of course, interesting enough, this is quite interesting because the verse in purport, text 3, it says that actually have not killed any yakshas, nor have they killed your brother, for the ultimate cause of generation and annihilation is the eternal future of the Supreme Lord. And then Prabhupada goes on in the purport, because previously we've been hearing that, Dhruva Maharaj, he more or less lost it. He lost his cool, he lost control of his anger, and he killed these yakshas, which was not necessary. But interesting enough, Prabhupada, he says in the purport that Kuvera, however, assured him that factually he had not killed any of the yakshas, therefore he was not at all sinful. He did his duty as a king, as it is ordered by the laws of nature. Nor should you think that your brother was killed by the yakshas, said Kuvera. He died or was killed in due course of time, but the laws of nature. Eternal time, one of the features of the Lord, is ultimately responsible for annihilation and generation. You are not responsible for such actions. So in many ways, I mean, that could be taken out of context. It's like, okay, well, it was, now that means I could just kind of maybe commit some violence and, oh, well, I didn't really do it. It's just, whatever, it's just Krishna. Krishna made me do it. I mean, sometimes within people's minds, they have this idea that Krishna made me do it, or God, it's inspired by God. I'm going to go kill all these people, it's inspired by God. So I had like some of the fanatic Muslims, they have that idea that God wants me to kill these people because they're infidels. They're just, and by doing that, I'll get liberation. But it's questionable. Does God, or actually, I mean, God doesn't want them to do it. And they're not going to get liberation. I mean, so yeah, this has to be taken in the right context. That it's not that it doesn't give us full, you could say, independence just to do anything we want, or to blame Krishna. Even you could say that's more commonly the case. That not that we just do whatever we want, but specifically we may blame Krishna. Say it was inspired by Krishna. It must have been Krishna's arrangement. Just like or Maya's arrangement. You know, Maya made me do it. Apparently there was some guy who, he was a Christian guy, I don't know if he was a priest or someone, or whatever, but religious, and then he did something wrong, and he actually went to court for it. It's kind of a strange thing to tell the judge, but maybe, I think it's true anyways, but I heard that he said, oh, well, it wasn't really me, like, the devil made me do it. The devil made me do it. So yeah, we can't really take that, we can't really accept that philosophy and accept that line of thought. Oh, well, Maya made me do it, or the devil made me do it. I mean, you wanted to do it. And you wanted to do it because, I mean, not any of you, but the person, whoever it is, they wanted to do it, and they wanted to do it because they're twisted. They're sick. That's all. It's not that the devil made them do it or anything like that. They're twisted, they're sick due to long time association with material nature and distorted desires. Or like Prabhupada was on another similar note, Prabhupada was in LA and devotees were serving him Charnamrita. And some Mataji there, she happened to put salt in the Charnamrita. So then they served Prabhupada, and then Prabhupada had the Charnamrita. Then he said, "Oh, what?" He was very angry. He said, "What is this?" And then she, kind of naively, not a right move, not a right thing to say. She said, "Oh, well, Krishna inspired me to do it. Put the salt in the Charnamrita. Must have been Krishna's inspiration." And then Prabhupada said, "No, it wasn't Krishna's inspiration. It was your foolishness, your stupidity." I think he actually really got on her case. So, of course, there is the idea of karmic reaction, that, just like Prabhupada said, people, why are there so many wars? And Prabhupada would say, because people do not follow the regulation of not eating meat, not eating flesh of animals. That's why there's so many wars. They break out regularly, every 10 years or so, whatever it is. Civil wars, this war, that war, and all these guys to get together, and then they kill each other. And Prabhupada said specifically that is related to slaughterhouses, them being slaughterhouses. So this is a karmic reaction, a collective karmic reaction. And interesting enough is that this is a real thing, and who's going to stop it? Of course, there's these vegan, vegetarian movements, all these types of people, and they are making people vegetarian, which is actually good. But in terms of religious groups or spiritual groups, I mean, practically hardly anybody follows this as a serious principle, vegetarianism. Sometimes even the Buddhists don't follow. Non-violence, ahimsa, but... So practically, Hare Krishna movement is the movement to stop that, and so many other things that will affect one karmically, which means suffering. So here, Dhruva Maharaj killing all these yakshas, I mean, you could say, oh, well, maybe it's a karmic reaction, all these yakshas, who knows what they did in their past life, and so on. Or, in some cases, some of the things that happens with pure devotees, it's actually a arrangement of Krishna that is made specifically to teach people. So Dhruva Maharaj or whoever may sometimes be used as an example to teach people, even if they may have done something wrong. Just like in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, we have the example of Chota Haridas. Chota Haridas, he was, there's Haridas Thakur, and then there's Chota Haridas. Chota means small, so small Haridas. He was a sannyasi, and Mahaprabhu was especially strict in his sannyas vows of association with women. In that Lord Chaitanya wouldn't even let women get close to offer obeisances. They'd have to offer obeisances from a distance. Mahaprabhu wouldn't meet with kings. I mean, he was like super strict. And he wanted his followers to be like that too, especially the renunciates, the sannyasis, the brahmacharis. Not much mention of the brahmacharis. Of course, there's Nrsinga brahmachari, but... so although he was very strict with the sannyasis, I mean, there was an example, right, one of his householder couples, they're about to have a child, and he named the child, he was very happy. So he wasn't against that family life and all that, but if someone would take the vow of renunciation, he's very strict with them. So one time, Chota Haridas, he just went to go ask for some rice from, what is her name? Malini, I think, yeah. And she was a pure devotee. I mean, it wasn't like she was like some low-class woman or something, or like some, sensuous woman or something. She was just, it was like he's talking with some... She was a pure devotee, and she was elderly. And within that pastime, it says that Chota Haridas, there was some ideal of looking lustfully. But if we read carefully within that pastime, it's not exactly clear whether he actually did something wrong or not. But still, he did go and ask her for rice. But still, Lord Chaitanya banished him. And he said, I don't want to see him. He has to leave my association. So in other words, in essence, Chota Haridas was actually being used as an example of what not to do. But because he's a pure devotee, he accepts it, the chastisement. And he was so devastated, of course this is pretty heavy, but he was so devastated that he actually went to the local river, whatever it was, the Ganges, and he actually committed suicide. He entered the river and committed suicide because Lord Chaitanya banished him. But later on, after he did that, he would come as a celestial Gandharva, and he would sing to Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya accepted it. He liked his singing. So of course it may be difficult to understand all that, but after that, it said that Lord Chaitanya's associates were they followed it really strictly. They got the point that, Lord Chaitanya doesn't like this. So, loosely associated with the women, or even not loosely. I mean, he asked for rice. I mean, it wasn't like a. So he liked that strictness, and it said that Lord Chaitanya's followers didn't even think of women at all, even in their dreams. It said they're just like really scared, terrified from it, because the whole idea is that this is, this whole association is enjoying separately from Krishna and sense gratification and bondage in this whole world. That's where it's all stemming from, this attraction. So Lord Chaitanya, he used Chotaharidas as an example of what not to do. And I was going to say one more thing about that. Oh yeah, and devotees brought this up to Prabhupada in a morning walk in Mayapur. They said, "Oh Prabhupada, we have this example of Chotaharidas, and should the sannyasis follow this? Because I mean, if they have some issue with some women or this and that, or they're lustfully looking at women, or whatever the case is, whatever the problem may be with women, should the sannyasis follow this?" And then Prabhupada said no. He said they shouldn't follow that. And then one devotee joked. He said, he said we'd have no society. He said we have no ISKCON society. He said everybody would commit suicide. So in that particular morning walk, I mean, interesting enough, just as a side point, because it was that morning walk in Mayapur. This is recorded by Hari Shari's Transcendental Diary. He says that Vishnujan Swami, the great Vishnujan Swami, was on that morning walk where devotees were discussing this. And then before Prabhupada answered the question, because Prabhupada said, no, you don't have to do that, and that's Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada said, I'm an ordinary man, I need all your help. Even if one has some issues, still they could be part of the society like that. He was encouraging people if they have problems. So then, apparently, I mean, as recorded, before Prabhupada got into all that, Vishnujan Swami, he fell to the back of the group. He wasn't so close to Prabhupada and hearing what he was saying. And then shortly after that, Vishnujan Swami just disappeared from Mayapur. He left his danda there, and he left his things, and he just disappeared. And then devotees never saw him again. So it was understood within, and I believe it was recorded there too, that somebody saw somewhere in India, they saw a white man enter the river and not come out or something like that. I mean, who knows? But yeah, he just disappeared. No one ever saw him again. But Srila Prabhupada advised that whatever the case is, whatever one's difficulty is, they shouldn't do something like that. But nonetheless, it is there in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, and it is something we should take seriously, that we should try to surrender to whatever rules and whatever regulations and whatever lifestyle we have committed to in Krishna consciousness. So whether one is a brahmachari, a householder, a vanaprastha, or a sannyasi, they should try to be serious about that and know what they should be doing, not doing, and try to live up to that. So again, Dhruva Maharaj, whether it was arrangement by Krishna or whether it was these people's karmic reaction, and in some cases before, Prabhupada said, oh, Dhruva Maharaj, he lost control of his anger. So whatever the case it is instructive to us. And something we could learn from. And last but not least is that when we're in the process of trying to get out of material consciousness, get out of material existence, get out of this dreamlike existence, Prabhupada says here, there's the legs, there's the hands, there's all these different limbs and so on. And that, they all work together. So this point of cooperation is of the utmost importance. Prabhupada would say so many times, if you love me, you have to cooperate with each other. Not that you just love me and you don't cooperate with each other. That means you don't love me. So cooperation of the utmost importance, and Prabhupada would say that because everybody's trying to serve the guru, right? Everybody wants to serve Prabhupada, everyone wants to serve their spiritual master. So the example Prabhupada gave, he said that you have two disciples. One is massaging the right arm and right shoulder, and the other starts the left arm and the left shoulder, left arm and the left shoulder, and so on. Different parts of the body, legs, feet, whatever. Now, if they start fighting with each other, no, I want to serve that part, and then they start. In the process, they're not doing it properly, and they're fighting with each other, and they may be doing it too hard, or whatever the may case, not properly done. They may hurt the spiritual master in the process. So the idea is that, okay, we all want to serve Prabhupada, but in the process, we shouldn't offend each other, which is so common. I mean, all throughout the world. I mean, I don't want to get too into all that, but devotees sometimes have a difficulty. Oh, you want to serve this way, I want to serve this way. Okay, I don't agree. And then they fight about it. So in the process, they're actually trying to serve, but they're actually hurting Prabhupada, because Prabhupada doesn't like that. So within our own little way, in our own community, we may not be so involved in so many of those issues, preaching this way, preaching that way, or whatever. Different tactics, like people disagree about. But within our own community, which we're all part of here, SanDiego, we could try to implement that in our own way, that we try to cooperate. Although we may have different ideas of how to do things, we try to work together. In this way, we could more easily become liberated, rather than not. So. All right, so does anybody have any questions or comments or anything you'd like to say about any of this? Yes. Dharma Seti Prabhu. There's this...
Could you read the translation of the first verse?
Okay. I read 1, 2, 3, and 4. Very first verse. I'll just read all of them because it's just 4 verses. So, the great sage Maitreya said, "My dear Vidura, Dhruva Maharaj's anger subsided, and he completely ceased killing yakshas. When Kuvera, the most blessed master of the treasury, learned this news, he appeared before Dhruva. While being worshipped by yakshas, kiranas, and charanas, he spoke to Dhruva Maharaj, who stood before him with folded hands. The master of the treasury, Kuvera, said, O sinless son of a Kshatriya, I am very glad to know that under the instruction of your grandfather you have given up your enmity, although it is very difficult to avoid. I am very pleased with you. Actually, you have not killed the yakshas, nor have they killed your brother, for the ultimate cause of generation and annihilation is the eternal time feature of the Supreme Lord." And the last one is, misidentification of oneself and others as I and you on the basis of the bodily concept of life is a product of ignorance. This bodily concept is the cause of repeated birth and death, and it makes us go on continuously in material existence.
Well, kind of the question, as you touched on it, was when you're talking to someone about something that happened, when do you say, hey, Prabhu, you're responsible, and when do you say, well, it's ultimately the time factor in Krishna's arrangement?
Yeah.
Because, like you said, people can misunderstand, but it seems like there's 2 different instructions that can be given.
Yeah.
Well, when do you decide to say this, and when do you decide to say that?
Whether it's Krishna's arrangement or it's your responsibility. I mean, it's your fault or your responsibility. I mean, sometimes it's quite tricky to know, actually. Is it Krishna's arrangement, or is it my responsibility or my doing, So sometimes people think it's Krishna's arrangement, but it's actually not. It's actually their doing, what they've done to get in that situation. Like, there was one brahmachari here, and many years ago, and he, many moons ago, and he said, some, whatever, woman from LA, devotee, she came down, and somehow or other they were I don't know, associating and they're attracted to each other. I don't know if online or something, they're communicating with each other, social media. And somehow or other they got this idea that, oh, we'll marry. And I was a little surprised because, Brahmacharya was there for some time. And then before you know it, there's like a week or two pass and he's packing up his stuff and going up to L.A. And so then, was that Krishna's arrangement? Was that Krishna's mercy? Or was that his own doing? Like, was he not supposed to do that? So, Tirtha Maharaj was Mahatattva Prabhu at the time. He was advising this brahmachari, don't do it. Don't do it. I know this person. She's a little troublesome. She's a little troubled. Don't do it. You're gonna cause yourself difficulties. And he told him, over and over again. But still, this devotee went and did it. He said, he just went. And later, just within a few months, she was causing him trouble and problems. She was a troubled person and whatever. Everybody's more or less troubled. But she was really causing a lot of troubles. And they just separated. Was that... I would not say that him getting himself in that situation was Krishna's arrangement. It was just... it was just something else. Just his desires. And it was Krishna's arrangement that Tirtha Maharaj was telling him, hey, don't do it, don't do it. That was kind of like Krishna speaking through Tirtha Maharaj. Don't do it, Now, of course, this devotee could have learned something, hopefully. I'm sure he did. But ultimately, was that really Krishna's arrangement? I don't think so. It was just his desires. I was talking with this other devotee, too. We're going to have to get names and all this, but he met this woman. These just happen to be marriage things. Sorry, but these are just coming to my brain right now. But he met this woman, and he was a brahmachari and thinking about getting married. Talked to his guru and all that, and his guru said, "Okay, fine, but do it religiously." And so he met this woman a few times, a devotee, and she seemed nice and this and that, and then they just met in Vrindavan and they just married each other there. And then you fast forward the thing and the movie or whatever, you fast forward and she's not agreeing with him, he's not agreeing with her, they're fighting very vehemently about God knows what, and it just fell apart, he left her, stuff, and very emotional, everybody's scarred. And I was speaking with him, and he said, oh yeah, it was just... I said, well, did you get any references for this woman? Did you talk with any of your friends? Like, hey, what do you think about her? And, how is she? You kind of want to get references. That's what people do when they're trying to, I don't know, marry someone or hire someone or whatever. They get some references. So he said, no, I didn't get any references. I said, oh, okay. And then he just told me flat out. He said, yeah, it was just, it was just lust. That's what he told me. So was that Krishna's arrangement? Well, I wouldn't say so, because when it's Krishna's arrangement, it's intelligently done, and it's not based on all these personal desires and selfishness. So, but yeah, it is difficult to know, but there's an idea of, at least within our lives, of if we know whether we should do something, if there's an opportunity that arises, and we're thinking, is this Krishna's arrangement, or is this not, to check with good standing, serious devotees. And the general understanding is that if all of them say, yes, this is wonderful, you should go for it, then that's an indication that it may be Krishna's arrangement. Just like thinking of His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami, he said that, or at least devotees talking about him said that throughout his life, he wasn't sure all the time about his course of action. So therefore he would talk with his godbrothers, like he was getting into dramas, like he did that Jagannath Priya Nattakam. So he wasn't exactly sure, because he was reading some books that were from non-devotees about drama and this and that, and getting all into this, so he wasn't sure. So he spoke with devotees, his godbrothers especially, to confirm. And he would say that whatever they said, he would think about it. Sometimes he would disagree with it or go back and forth, but ultimately, whatever they were deciding, he took that as Krishna was telling. and he would go move accordingly. So I think that's important. But there are some just basic things like that Charnamrita. I mean, it wasn't Krishna's inspiration, it was just the person spacing out. And so there's kind of, you could say, basic small things that we could easily tell if it's just our foolishness or Krishna's arrangement. And then there's more kind of things that we may not be sure about, that are kind of more complex and like life decisions and stuff like that. So I don't know if that... I mean, also like intelligence, like things take intelligence. Like Prabhupada talked about Tulsi. He said he gave all these instructions because somebody wrote him a letter. Give all these instructions, do this, do this, do this. And then he said, and use your common sense. And then as far as devotee said that, and Prabhupada said, well, and if you don't have any common sense, then ask somebody who does have common sense. So, in many ways, like life in general, to know, like, there's, like, I read in Servant of the Servant, right, Tamal Krishna Goswami said that Prabhupada, I think quoting Prabhupada, said, you have your plan, I have my plan. And the way, and the trick is to find out what is Krishna's plan, and then act accordingly. So of course that takes intelligence, but and therefore there's the idea of guru. The guru is one who is intelligent and wise and gives you instructions how to move on in this world successfully. And Prabhupada said in one purport, interesting enough, I always thought this was really interesting. Prabhupada said that that Krishna gives the guru unlimited intelligence how to guide his disciple. That's amazing. Unlimited intelligence. I mean, that's a lot of intelligence. And it's not just Diksha Guru, there's Shiksha Gurus, and everybody should have Shiksha Gurus, persons we check with. So, I don't know if that, okay. All right, so everybody's ready for pancakes? All right, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.